Welcome back to Buckeye Breakdown. Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated, continuing our coverage of the Ohio State Buckeyes as they reported for camp today. Finally, the first day of training camp has come and gone. Ohio State now is full steam ahead. They've got 25 practices to get ready for the start of the 2021 season. It'll be here, well, I guess now 4 weeks from tomorrow. This is Wednesday night, and they open the season Thursday, September the 2nd. Against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. So locked and loaded, getting ready now, and it's full steam ahead with camp starting. So figured we'd tell you a couple of storylines here, probably we'll call it our top 5 storylines coming out of day one of the 2021 first day of camp. I think first and foremost, the thing that probably nobody wants to really lead off with, but Tyler Friday is it sounds like not going to be able to see the field very much, and that is certainly a bummer. Upperclassman, defensive end. He's been very productive when he's been on the field. He just hasn't been on the field very much. Certainly like what we've seen from him last year, and he was definitely a part of last year's defensive end rotation. Ryan Day did not want to get into the specifics around Tyler's injury, said he hadn't really talked with Tyler yet about how they wanted to handle publicizing that or not. But he essentially said he's probably going to be out a good chunk of the season. So, the Buckeyes are going to have their depth tested pretty quickly at defensive end. The good news is they've got lots of talented bodies there. And obviously it naturally brings up, okay, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau. Maybe it's a little bit easier now for them to get in the regular rotation and get on the field sooner, and certainly perhaps in more meaningful situations. Going to be interesting to see how those guys fit in right away. Obviously disappointed for Tyler Friday. Hope he's okay, and at some point perhaps we'll find out exactly what happened. But right now, mum's the word on his injury, and it doesn't look like he's going to be a big part of the beginning of this season at a minimum. So that's the biggest takeaway from day one. Unfortunately, you hate leading off with injury news, but that's kind of the nature of the beast right now. So that's our biggest storyline here, day one. I would say probably after that, a guy that I really, really like, Steele Chambers, was working at linebacker today. Only had a chance, the media this morning, to see, the first probably 20, 25 minutes of practice this morning, the first few periods. And even at that, it was from quite a distance. So didn't have a chance to see practice at length or anything up close and personal. But Steele Chambers was working with the linebackers. And frankly, I love watching him run the football. I absolutely love him as a running back. I think he's got a ton of talent. He's super athletic, but he can probably deliver some pretty good hits too. And for a linebacker room that needs a little help developing some depth, with all that they lost last year, perhaps he's a good option there. So Steele Chambers is trying to figure out if maybe linebacker is a good fit for him, and certainly was there today working with linebackers. And that sort of ties into the next component, the running back room. Ryan Day seems to really like the talent and the depth they have there, feeling like this might be the best running back room that he's had since he's been here, even though he's not directly working with the running backs super regularly. Obviously, Travion Henderson and Evan Pryor are the younger component to that. For whatever reason, this morning, Master Teague was not really in the first group, if you will. Mayan Williams was taking some more of those first team reps, but Master Teague was certainly still out there. And as the incumbent, as the upperclassman in the group, I would imagine Master's still going to see plenty of carries this year. That said, maybe sometimes early in camp, you know what you have with one guy and you're trying to figure out what you might have with others. So regardless, Mayan Williams has drawn lots of praise. They love the way his body has come along over the course of the summer. And he got some good reps in this morning and was one of the more impressive guys first day of camp. So keep your eye on Mayan Williams. Maybe he'll factor more into the running back field here this year. Some really high praise for the young wide receivers, especially Emeka Egbuka. Pretty clear Ryan Day likes what he did to work over the summer. Felt like he worked really, really hard, made that a real focal point in his post-practice press conference. So perhaps Igbuka will be, a focal point here in the receiver room. Obviously, we know how talented and deep that room is, just in terms of overall raw ability, but not a ton of playing time yet for some of the freshmen and sophomores in that room, because you've got guys like Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson who've seen such an abundance of playing time and certainly will factor in again this year. You could argue they're two of the top receivers in the country, if not the two best receivers in the country, coming back this year. So only one football to go around, but it's pretty clear the Buckeyes trust and like this young receiver class. Mecca Igbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Jaden Ballard in particular just might factor into things this coming fall. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. And beyond that, the other guy that I think took some attention, and I might screw his name up, certainly not going to try to, and I think all across Buckeye Nation we're still learning, but I believe it is pronounced Palei Yoteote. He is, of course, the young man that transferred in from USC, working with the team. He's at practice. He's on the field. He's getting reps in, and the hope is that he'll be a regular this fall. But Yoteote does not yet have his waiver, and not entirely sure what the holdup is there with the NCAA, especially with the transfer rule. But he has not yet been officially declared eligible to play for the Buckeyes this fall. So he continues to kind of play the wait and see game. And Ryan Day even said, look, it doesn't make sense to necessarily put him with the first team or the second team yet, because you don't really know what's going to happen and you don't want to take reps away from other guys. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, the NCAA will sort that out, and hopefully he'll be eligible and available here this fall. I know the Buckeyes would love to have him. So those are probably the five biggest storylines. Maybe one bonus one for you. Ohio State's team vaccination rate is north of 90%. That's obviously great news, and certainly fingers crossed that it continues to climb. We'd like to see guys continue to choose to get vaccinated. The Big Ten hasn't quite yet put out what its COVID-related protocols are going to be this year. We're crossing our fingers that that those are going to come out here within the next couple of weeks and kind of give people an idea of exactly what we're going to be dealing with this year. If you can't play a game, are you on the verge of forfeiting? Hopefully not, but perhaps. Again, Kevin Warren said at Big Ten Media Day that was a collective decision across the conference that would probably be made in early August. So we continue to wait for word officially on that. But the good news is the Buckeyes seem like they're handling their business nicely, and fingers crossed it won't be a problem for Ohio State this year after obviously some serious COVID issues last year. Before we wrap up, we have one comment here. I feel like we're still young this year. We'll make the playoff, but next year is the year. I can certainly see where that comes from, and obviously the talent level is pretty apparent. But the youth, to me, it really stems from quarterback. I'd like to sit here and tell you that I wholeheartedly, totally trust some combination of C.J. Stroud, Jack Miller, Cal McCord, and eventually Quinn Ewers. But we just haven't seen it yet. I think there's plenty of reason to be optimistic, but without seeing guys tested quite yet in some of those situations, hard to know exactly what you're going to get. The good news is you open with a Big Ten game. Obviously, that's super important. And then you're going to play your big non-conference game right after that. You're going to find out fairly quickly quite how good you are. You're not going to necessarily get the same kind of vibe against Tulsa and Akron before you jump back into conference play. But the Buckeyes better be ready to go 4 weeks from tomorrow, because Minnesota has had that game circled on their calendar. And Ohio State, when you're running the conference, you've kind of always got that target on your back. So the Buckeyes know they're going to get everybody's best shot, and that includes Minnesota and the always energetic Coach PJ Fleck toward the end of I guess not the end of August. It'll be the beginning of September when they take the field there. So and following that up, I agree. Your concern is the back seven, no doubt. That's definitely a big focal point. The defensive line, you'd like to think is going to be the strong suit of this defense. The good news is Ryan Day said yesterday that he thinks the back seven have done a really good job of kind of like hitting the ground full speed this year. It's last year there were a few injuries and Sean Wade changed positions, so there was a little bit of this tentative nature to the way they attacked camp this year. A little bit more health coming into camp. Not necessarily certainty in terms of guys being locked into playing time, but mental certainty around the season's going to start on time, and everybody's back at 100% and moving forward. So I think his comments about liking where the secondary was at coming into the year leads me to believe that shouldn't be quite the same trouble issue that it was last year, because frankly it couldn't have been too much worse. And I know the Buckeyes certainly took that on the chin. And when your pass defense is ranked 122nd overall in FBS, and you still made it to the national championship game, that tells you that you were able to outscore your mistakes. But obviously that final game of the year didn't go so well. So big point of concern for them for sure. All right, so those are kind of your headlines from day one at Ohio State training camp. The Buckeyes don't have media availability every single day over the course of the next few weeks, but they do have a fairly detailed schedule out. There will not be media availability with the team on Thursday this week, but we will have a chance on Friday to get a look at practice once again in the morning. And we'll talk with Coach Combs and his cornerbacks on Friday after practice is over. The way the schedule worked out, today was actually the last day of finals. So practice was moved super early in the day so that they could be done earlier and give guys a chance to take their finals if they had been taking summer classes. The rest of camp is going to be a much more normal start time. It'll be practice is starting at 9:45 a.m. most days. So expect that we're going to have chances to kind of hear from a lot of the coaching staff roughly 11:45 or noon, something in that ballpark most days. And of course, we'll have plenty of coverage for you here on Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. Also, if you're interested in checking it out, we've got lots of pictures from practice over today over on BuckeyesNow.com, so you can check that out as well. All right, we'll see you again soon. The Buckeyes are off and rolling. We'll follow more of the headlines along the way here as the fall goes along. See you soon.